welcome everyone to the High Performing Dental Team. I'm Dana Johnson, and I have a very special guest. One of my Colorado besties is with us today, Rita Zamora, who is the founder of Connect 90. She is a speaker on the dental industry speaking circuit. She has spoke and presented at all the major meetings and many study clubs around the country. And she's also the author of 2 books. And I love her book. I give it away to many of my offices. And she is just your social media expert in the dental industry. Welcome, Rita.
Thank you for the invite. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. This topic is going to be perfect for our doctors and dental teams who are kickstarting their annual planning sessions because they're going to want to start thinking about, okay, planning for maybe we want to up our social media game in our practice, or we've never even had social media in our practice. So like, where do we start? So this is going to be perfect for that topic that doctors can add into their annual planning. So I really appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Great. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So what we're going to talk about is, of course, we're going to talk about social media, of course. But what is going to be the best thing I think about this session today is you're going to give everyone like 3 actionable items. We're going to talk about 3 things that dental teams should focus on when it comes to social media. And I know you're going to give us 3 actionable steps. So if anybody's listening, you can always re-listen to this podcast. But if you want to write these down, you can definitely write down Rita's actionable steps. And then I know that we're also going to be driving people to your website after this session in the show notes. So they can always reach back out to you with questions, or if they want to talk to you more about their social media strategy, they can always do that. So why don't you get us started with what we're going to talk about today?
Yeah, I think, we're going to talk about the top 3 areas for practices to focus on. And social media is changing all the time. We hear from a lot of dental teams that they want to be doing more with their social media, but they have some challenges. A lot of challenges today are time. Sometimes there's team turnover, new people coming on board or people leaving. And, it's just a chronic issue, unfortunately, right now. So I want to make sure that I reassure your listeners that the tips that I'm going to give you, the very last tip is going to be a time saver and a way that you can do more with less time. So rest
Perfect.
Assured, even though I'm sharing these tips and some actionable items, sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have more to do when my plate's already full.
Yes.
And we're already short on time. So we're going to talk about how we can save you time and get you better results.
I think that's perfect. I do get that a lot. They're like, oh my gosh, now you're going to come in here and add more to my plate. Well, I don't have time to add anything more to my plate. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that you are going to give our listeners some time saving tips, because I know that would really like reassure them that you're not going to add more to their plate.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Well, the first tip, it does require a little bit of time and effort and just really a change of the way that we've been thinking, because I think for a long time, we've been thinking, with our social media, we're just going to put content out there, whether it's photos or videos, and hope that we get likes and comments. And then that's a win. They consider it a win if you get a lot of visibility or comments or shares, which is all great. But what the platforms are all looking for today is engagement. It's really all about engagement. And they're really, I think, trying to determine like who is a real person behind these accounts. So if you're just posting content and you're never interacting with other people on Instagram, for example, that's really, really important. So making sure that you're logging into the account occasionally and following other people, and most importantly, responding to any comments that you have. Those comments are gold. And Dana, you and I have had conversations about this, how important it is to have that engagement and interaction with other accounts, because we're sort of getting graded on that now. If
Oh,
we're not engaging with other accounts, then social media platforms like Instagram are saying maybe this isn't even a real person. It might just be all, you know, pre-scheduled, and someone's not even checking in on their account. So why should we even show their content to anybody?
interesting. So let me just ask you just kind of a quick follow-up. So would you say that the dental practice should also be engaging with other Instagram accounts, like maybe their local dental society, or maybe even other dental practices, or who would they engage with? Like maybe some of their other communities, like restaurants or community people in their within their community.
Yeah. And I think, we can think of this in terms, and we're already a relationship focused business, in the business of dentistry. We're already really focused on relationships. So think of it in terms of how you would interact with the community in real life and
Okay.
carry that online. So think of, those different community restaurants, like you mentioned, your favorite boutiques, your favorite coffee shop,
Oh yeah.
your,
Yeah.
patients that might have public profiles. They might be realtors, they might be local business owners, it could be musicians or authors, or anyone who has a public account, that you can follow. But all of those people in the community, the list goes on. It could be nonprofits that you support.
Oh, that's a great
Just,
idea.
any type of nonprofit in the community. We love that. That's something we try and encourage our clients to really think about. Is there a nonprofit you want to support throughout the year, or a different
Yeah.
one every quarter? And so it makes it really easy and also very genuine and sincere when you're choosing local businesses and organizations and individuals to interact with.
Yeah, I really liked how you distinguished the difference between likes and engagement, because there is a difference there.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, and it's of no fault of our own. That's just kind of how many folks got started with social media back in the day when Facebook pages were released. We'd put content out there and people would like it. And we were like, oh, okay, we got likes. And that was sort of it. You just would kind of
Right.
get stuck in that rut. But today it's really all about engagement. And so the good news is, like I said, we're already in a relationship focused business. So even if you have like referring providers, maybe if you're, for example, one of our dental teams, they have an eye doctor that's in their same block, within a few steps of their building. So they follow them and interact with them. There's also
Hmm.
like an aesthetic, facial care place that's in their neighborhood, and they interact and engage with them because they're very active on social media. So it's also helping you build tighter relationships with potential referring practices and
Hmm.
other people in your community. So it's really a win-win. And I think it's a good thing, but it is something new that a lot of teams might have to shift the way that they're looking at things and say, okay, I need to save a little bit of time to make sure that I'm going into the app regularly
Hmm.
and making sure that we're following other local businesses or responding with a comment to their content or sharing their content in your stories on Instagram, just kind of thinking about things differently.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good point. I'm so glad you elaborated on that.
Yeah, and that's going to make a big difference because you're in turn going to be rewarded potentially with better visibility for your content. You're going to send that signal to the social media platform that you're a real person and you're interacting and engaging. And the bonus is that you could get your content out there potentially to more people, and also building those stronger relationships is a win too.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And it really won't take, that's really not anything more than what a lot of people are already doing, with our private Instagram or Facebook accounts. We're already engaging with other accounts, our friends or our colleagues. And so it really isn't anything that they're not already doing already, but now it's that they have to engage their business profile with other accounts. So I think that's kind of a change in the mindset that they might not have thought of.
Yeah, for sure. And you can start small, start with a baby step, and that would be, making sure that you're responding to any comments that you get on any of your content, because that's going to provide some engagement and then also encourage other people to leave comments because they'll see, oh, this person responded. I'm going to go ahead and leave a comment too, or
Yeah.
ask a question.
Yeah.
So that's a baby step that you can just walk away with if you're not already, making sure that you're responding to comments or carving out 10 or 15 minutes of time a week to just go ahead and interact, follow and interact with some local businesses and organizations in your community.
Perfect. Perfect. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, we don't have a choice,
Uh-huh.
unfortunately, because otherwise our visibility is going to continue to tank.
Oh, I know.
So,
I know the algorithms are constantly changing.
yeah.
They're just always changing. And so that's why it's so good to have you on so we can hear what is the latest, what do we need to know about the algorithms so that we can, keep our pages, as visible as possible.
Yes, for sure.
All right, perfect. So engagement, I think, is a really great one. That was number one on your list. And so then I know you also want to talk about like a content strategy. So tell us a little bit more about like what does a content strategy look like and what can our teams do to kickstart that?
Mm-hmm. Well, we all, as business owners today, are content marketers. I know you know that, Dana, for Navoni, that
Yes.
we are constantly in need of keeping our name and face out there. And it used to be that practices would say, well, I have a website, and that's kind of keeping my name and face out there. But now people are really looking for you on social media, where our country is spending their time on these different
Mm-hmm.
social media channels. So you really need to make sure that you have an active presence there. And this is where I think teams get challenged because they're short on time. So they're like, okay, just whenever I have some time, I'm just going to make a quick TikTok or,
Yeah.
make a quick reel or whatever, which is great. But you really want to start thinking ahead, because it will save you time and get you better results if you think about, what are our goals of social media? If it's really just to build relationships with patients, then you can have a content strategy that's more focused on, what's going to make your patients smile and provide some enjoyment for them, and, just letting your patients know what you all are up to or doing some behind the scenes. But most dentists that I talk with want to have a presence on social media to grow their business, to
Yeah.
grow their practice, and to have some sort of benefit for their business, because you are spending resources. Time is money on your social media. So I encourage the teams to think about, what are those procedures that your dentist wants to be known for? And I can tell you most dentists today usually say, well, tell me what you hear, Dana, and I'll tell you what I hear.
Well, I mean, I think that they always say, "Well, our patients already know what we do." And I feel like
Yes.
they assume that their patients know what they do already, when the doctors may be doing Invisalign, or they may be doing airway, but the patients have no idea. So they go to an orthodontist and have an Invisalign consult when their GP doctor may be doing Invisalign. So a lot of times patients just don't know. The doctors assume that, oh, my patients know everything that I do.
Yes, 100%. So you get a gold star, for
Woohoo!
5 gold stars for that, because that's exactly what we hear from the dentists. That the top two procedures they usually want to be known for today, I keep hearing over and over again, are clear aligners and dental implants.
Yes.
And I've heard that from multiple dentists that, our patient decided they wanted to have clear aligner treatment and they went somewhere else because they didn't
Mm-hmm.
even know that we offered it. And
Yes.
I remember that from back in the day when I was working in a perio practice. We would have patients referred for the surgical placement of their implant. and we'd send them back, we'd go to send them back to their dentist to get the implant restoration complete. And they would be like, oh, my dentist doesn't do implants. And we're like, well, yes, they do. That's why they sent you here for the surgical placement. And they would argue with us sometimes like, no,
Yeah.
I'm convinced that they don't do that. We'd have to get on the phone while the patient's there and say, tell your patient that you do work with implants. So we really have to get comfortable with repeating ourselves.
Yes.
And if you think about any major or really popular social media account, they're usually hyper focused on a specific topic or a niche. So if you look at some of the most well-known plastic surgeons, or even some of the, more famous dentists in our industry, they're usually focused on one specific topic. And I'm not asking you to go to that extreme, but if you want to be known for clear aligners, and yet you've been talking about what's the best toothpaste, or just random dental topics, how you should floss every day or eat an apple every day, or how much enamel is on, humans' teeth versus a rhinoceros, just these random things. It's like, that is not going to help you.
Right.
So having a content strategy is being more thoughtful about what your goals are and getting comfortable repeating these topics. It's actually going to save you a ton of time and get you far better results.
I agree with you. I'm so glad you brought that up because I do feel like I have an office in New York, and her lane is she does airway. I mean, that's all she wants to be known for. And so I'm looking through her, even just her website, her blog, and she has blog posts about sealants. And I'm like, you don't even do sealants. Why do you have a blog about sealants? Like, you don't even see kids. And it's like, well, the website company, they just put up those blogs. And I'm like, that is not going to help you. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about, is you want to be talking about, I remember when you and I first started working together, and you're like, you need to be talking about, what do you want to do more of? And I'll never forget that when you said that to me. It's like, what do you want to do more of? And that's really what your social media presence should be all about. And I'm so glad that you talked about that today.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's the next takeaway for your listeners, is to have a content strategy. Still start thinking about, ask your dentist, or if you're the doctor that's listening, tell your team, here's the top 2 things that I want to be known for. Maybe you just have one, maybe you have 2, but you want to make sure then that those are common themes or topics that you're talking about on a regular basis in your content.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Okay, so then our third thing that we're going to dive into is systems. And I think that's really interesting that you're going to talk about systems, because I'm a systems girl, and that's almost all I talk about. And so talk about systems when it comes to social media.
Yeah, I think, the number, it's usually about 30% of dental teams are using a content calendar and a scheduling tool, which is one of the key tools that you want to have in place if you have a social media system or process in place. And so for those teams that are struggling with time, you don't have a lot of time, maybe you do have a new team member or someone who is going to be leaving and they need to pass the baton on your social media management, having a content calendar and a scheduling tool is the heart of your social media system. So just like those other systems that you have in place in your practice, you want to have a system or a process for your social media management. And the best way to do that is with a content calendar and scheduling tool. Some teams are resistant to it. They're like, oh, we just like to do things, whenever, just spontaneously. And I'm like, well, you can still do that, but you also, with that content strategy that I just talked about, you need to have a place to put those ideas. You don't want to have a spreadsheet or, putting them in a Google Calendar, because you still have to copy and paste all of that into your scheduling tool. So if you have a content calendar and a scheduling tool, there's a lot of different brands out there. We have our Connect 90 content calendar and scheduling tool. That platform, there's free options, like Meta has their free system, but it's limited to posting on Facebook and Instagram. But you want to have this content calendar and scheduling tool in place. I mean, I know that you know this, Dana, but our businesses would not be able to provide the type of content that we do if we didn't have that system in place.
100%. And, another thing that I love about having a content calendar is looking at the month, like as a whole, because, 60% of humans are visual, like we are visual learners, or, we like to look at things. That's why we have a schedule. We have an appointment book, and I think being able to look at the month and see it and say, where can we plug in some of those spontaneous posts, or we just want to make sure that we have, 40% of our posts are about this and 30% of our posts are about this.
Exactly.
And the other thing I love about the content calendar is that then you can see to make sure that you're not like duplicating things, not using the same images over and over again as well. I think that's also really helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And, I did talk in the content strategy segment about making sure that you're repeating yourself and that you have these common themes, but that doesn't mean that you're posting the same post over and over again. You want to have different types of content variation, whether it's reels or carousels where you have multiple different images or videos in one post, or different photos or different graphics, and making sure that you're mixing that up and getting people's attention. We just have seconds to capture people's attention. And the best way to be able to do that is by planning in advance your content. We always plan for the month ahead. Mm-hmm. What is it that you want to post using your content calendar and your scheduling tool? Some teams take it a step further, and they're like office managers wanting to delegate to another team member. So they might have a dental assistant or a hygienist or someone else on the team that's creating all the content in the content calendar and scheduling tool. And then the office manager just has to go in and check these different posts to approve them. So you have a second set of eyes. Yeah. It just, helps to make sure everything looks polished and is matching your brand and your voice and all of that good stuff. But it really does save you time when you plan ahead versus being spontaneous, because once you get into that rabbit hole and start thinking, I'm just going to kind of come up with a post and randomly start scrolling, I mean, you could be lost for days, as you know.
I totally agree. I know. I do feel that, we teach systems and how to be more efficient with, the day-to-day activities in the dental office. And when you want to have a presence on social media, it's the same thing. You having a system and having some templates, because I know, like, another thing that I love about Connect 90 that you guys do is, and you can expand on this a little bit more, is I love that you provide these templates, which are amazing, because then it gives you the teams these topic ideas. It gives them just kind of drives them down the right path, and then they can personalize it, but at least then they don't have to come up and think of everything on their own. So, you can expand on that just a little bit, because I know that's one of my favorite things that Connect 90 does.
Yeah. And we like to call it a framework, because I think sometimes people hear templates and they're like, oh, everything is always the same. And a framework is really what I would say would describe our program, because we're giving you ideas, but we now have artificial intelligence that we can integrate. So if we're giving you a professionally written caption as an example, you can take it as it is and personalize it. So if your practice is in Denver, you could say, hey, Denver, what's the difference between dental implants and dentures? That sort of thing. We always encourage people to personalize everything. 100% of the time, we encourage you to use your own photos and videos. So we're here to help you out and save you time, but you can also utilize things like our AI option. So if you want to completely change the caption, but still retain that topic, which might be about clear aligners or implants or whatever it is, thanking people for referrals or whatever it is, you can do that. It'll save you the time, but we give you that framework, the ideas that you can take and personalize and add your own photos and videos, and then easily get these different variations of your posts that you've personalized for Facebook, Instagram, and even posting content on Google Business, your Google Business profile where your map and reviews live, and also on LinkedIn company pages. More and more teams are posting there. So with the click of a few buttons, then you can take that content that you've personalized and make some copies for these other channels, and then they get published from that platform to those different channels.
Which is a huge time saver. So
yes,
you're not having to create individual posts for each platform. I love that.
Yeah, it's really a game changer. And that's the big takeaway for a lot of teams that are saying, we're overwhelmed. We'd like to post content, but we don't know. We're running out of ideas, or we don't have time, because this will give you ideas. It gives you the tools, the content calendar and scheduling tool that you need. And also, most importantly, allows for that maximum personalization, because your practice is unique and what you post should be totally different than what another practice posts, because you each have something unique and special to offer.
100%. Yeah, that's like the worst thing is when you see the same images on, several different dental practices, that might be working with the same marketing company. So, yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes, I will say in their defense, sometimes, they'll say, we just don't have the time. And it's like, you really got to make the time. 100% of the time you want to use your own photos and videos. And there are still teams out there that do rely on prepared graphics. I know that they're out there, and sometimes they're doing the best that they can. But ultimately, when you plan ahead, there are ways, and maybe at a future interview, we can talk about how you can save time getting a bunch of these photos and video snippets that you can use for the future, so you don't have to rely on the prepared graphics anymore.
Yeah, that'll be our next conversation.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Rita. This has been really eye-opening, and I hope it's been really informative for everybody. And so one last thing, if you wanted to just shout out, what's the best way that people could reach out to you if they have questions or they want to learn more about Connect 90?
Well, they can visit our website at connect90.com. Definitely look for us on all the socials, so you can learn more about what we have to offer. And if you are interested in a demo, definitely let us know. You can schedule that online through our website. And if you mention Navoni and this website, we have a special offer for you. So Be sure to let us know.
Perfect. Well, we'll definitely have your website in the show notes, so people can, if they're watching this 6 months from now, they'll definitely have that information. So I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. I hope that you found this episode informative and will be really a great topic for maybe your upcoming annual planning session, or if you are going to be adding a social media expert in your practice, or maybe you're going to delegate that to one of your dental assistants. That would be fantastic. If you liked this episode, please rate it, review it, share it with your colleagues. We really appreciate it. That's how our message gets out to more dental practices. So this is Dana. I'm going to let you go have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to watching your journey of becoming a high-performing dental team.